Okay, guys, we're going to read Iqbal Chapter 9 today. That evening, there was a large group around Iqbal's pallet. I reached the city just before dawn, Iqbal began his story. The sky was gray, it was raining. There were great puddles everywhere, and I didn't know where to go. For a while, I just wandered around. There are areas where the houses are very tall, so tall you can hardly see the tops of them, and areas where old, decrepit houses are bunched together, but there was nobody about. It was too early. I finally reached a very long, wide street that led out of the city, and I thought, maybe this will lead me home, to the countryside, to my family. I was planning to try somehow to sneak a ride on a truck or bus when I realized that Hussein Khan would come to my parents' house and would force them to give me back to him. My mother would oppose it, but my father, he was a law-abiding man. And since he had this debt, he wouldn't be able to say no. So I looked for the market square. It's enormous, did you know? You can't imagine how big it is. There are hundreds of wooden tables all lined up, and piles of crates and mattings where vendors put out their wares. Despite the rain, they were already working. Mountains of fruit, truckloads of vegetables from the country, baskets and baskets of different colored spices, all covered with plastic. And the butcher stalls. Some butchers use sticky strips of paper to protect their meat from the flies. Others just put it on the ground. They sell anything and everything there. Old things, strange things, even crooked, rusty nails. Come on. It's true, I'm telling you. There are stalls that are like real shops, and they have big radios and tapes and you can put inside to hear music. I know, said Kareem with his usual superior air. And other tapes that they say show pictures. I didn't know that, admitted Kareem. So they're talking about movie tapes, VHS tapes and cassette tapes, which we don't use anymore, but was around during that time. I walked around for hours. The market grew more and more crowded. I thought that if I stuck with the crowds, it would be harder for Hussein Khan to find me. There were lots of things to see. I saw a juggler and a snake charmer. There's no such thing. Yes, there is. And did the serpent sway to music? Not really, but it came out of the basket. It was a big snake with a broad head and an evil eye, and the man held it in his hands. Bare hands? That's right. And there was food being sold everywhere. There were big pots of basmati rice and of chicken tandoori. It smelled so good, and I was hungry. And so what did you do? I worked. They're there too. Who's there? Children. Working. They're the ones who unload the trucks and carry the crates. Some so heavy they feel like they'll break your arms. You go to a merchant and say, "Got any work for me?" And he says, "Move that load and I'll give you a rupee." That's what I did. But there were other children who didn't want me to do anything. They said, "Who are you? Where do you come from? This is our turf. Any work here is ours. Get out of here." I was afraid they would attract attention to me. After all, Hussein was out there looking for me. So I told them to leave me alone, and I tried another area. Finally, I found a butcher who let me unload a truck full of mutton hinds. He gave me a burlap sack to put over my head and shoulders to keep the blood off. Ugh, that sounds gross. To keep the blood off, which was lucky because Hussein would never recognize me covered with burlap, and I knew he was after me. Once I even thought I glimpsed him in the crowd. But what did you think you were going to do? I didn't know. I thought I could hide a few days in the market and that I'd find something. I worked until the late afternoon, and I used the butcher's rupee for food. It had stopped raining, and the sun was beginning to shine. I sat against a wall to rest. Two bigger boys came up to me. They were smoking and they had a strange way of speaking. Are you new? They asked. Yes, I replied. Where do you come from? The country, I lied. Looking for work? If you're quick, we have something you could do. And what did they want you to do? I never understood, but they had a knife, which they showed me. No thanks, I told them, but they kept insisting I join them. I asked them where I could sleep, and they started to laugh. Here, wherever you want. Every counter becomes a hotel room. But be careful, new boy. Why? I asked. Just be careful, they repeated. I was scared. I felt lonely, and I didn't know what to do or where to go. I missed all of you, and I thought that maybe it had been dumb to run away. The market was emptying and night was coming. I felt so sad and homesick. I had escaped thinking that someone would help me. And us. And there I was, all alone. So what did you do? I saw a bus, a big colored kind with lots of lights and horns. Remember, Fatima, when I told you I wanted to ride one? I remember. So I got on, and it took me around the city until the conductor saw me and kicked me off. Then I took another, and another after that. I ended up in a place I didn't know. It was almost night. I was hungry again, and the excitement of the bus ride was long gone. I fell asleep in a doorway, curled tight in a ball so I wouldn't feel the wind. In the morning, the porter chased me away with a stick. I returned to the market where I unloaded 2 truckloads of watermelons, always keeping an eye out for Hussein Khan. I thought I'd stay there for a few days, that the master would get tired of looking for me so I'd be able to go home. But I wasn't sure. I was afraid I'd end up living there like a stray dog. Then that afternoon, the men arrived. What men? There was a group of them. There were even some women. They put up a kind of platform, and behind it, a big banner and lots of signs. Of course, I didn't understand what was written on them. A large crowd formed immediately, and the police surrounded them. To help them, I thought. There, a man came onto the stage. I liked him the very minute I saw him. I thought, he must be a good man. He had a neat, pointed beard and a clean white shirt. He began to speak into a microphone. And what did he say? He said, I remember well because I had never heard words like his before. He said, we're from the Bonded Labor Liberation Front of Pakistan. What's that? I don't know. But he said it was a crime. It was barbarous to exploit children and make them work like slaves in carpet workshops or brick factories. He said that the masters are greedy and wicked. Did he really say that? I'm positive. And then he said that there's a law now in Pakistan. People who exploit children have to go to prison. Yay, that's great. That's right. It's only fair. Yes, but the majority of the people there didn't agree. The merchants insulted him and threw rotten vegetables at him. They yelled, "Get out of here, fool! Traitor!" The man with the white shirt managed to shout even louder. The crowd didn't intimidate him, and you should have seen how unruly the crowd was. The carpet sellers were the most ferocious. It looked like they wanted to attack the platform. They yelled that the man in the white shirt spoke only lies, all lies. But I thought, here's someone who can help me and my friends. I tried to get closer to the platform to speak to him, but there were just too many people, and the platform was surrounded by policemen. So I thought, I'll talk to a policeman. They're here to help. That man says it's a law to protect children from masters. I said to the policeman nearest to me, that man's right about how masters exploit children workers. My friends and I are slaves of a carpet merchant. What are you doing here? He asked. I ran away. And what's your master's name? Hussein Khan, sir. He looked around before saying, come with me. Where? Don't be afraid. To the police station. We'll give you something to eat, and tomorrow morning we'll go see this Hussein. Will you put him in jail? We'll know what to do. At the police station, they were very nice to me. They gave me a bowl of rice, and they let me sleep on a cot in a cell. But I wasn't a prisoner. I could go away if I liked. At least, that's what they told me. You know what happened the next day? Hussein told them that we're workers and he pays us regularly, that there aren't any chains, and that they believed him. They didn't believe him. They took money, I explained. I saw them. We looked unhappily at one another. We were sitting around Iqbal's pallet. He was still weak and very pale, and all the speaking was tiring him even more. If we can't trust the police, who can help us? I asked, putting into words what everyone was fearing. The men from the Liberation Front, answered Iqbal. They'll help us. Maybe, but how can we find them? Iqbal smiled knowingly and pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket. What is it? They were handing them out. There must be something written to tell us how to get to them. The paper passed from hand to hand. We touched it and looked at it, perplexed. Perplexed means confused. Why do you think they looked at the paper in a confused way? Yeah, brother, said Salman, maybe you're right, but you've forgotten something. No one here knows how to read. Silence fell. Then a small voice spoke from behind the group. A voice we had never heard before. It was a strange voice. It sounded rusty. That's not true. I can read. With our mouths hanging open in surprise, we all turned around to look at Maria. All right, that was chapter 9.